Hey, good evening. My name is Sierra. I'm the creator of She Is E-Magazine and Media Co. I'm so happy to be on here. It's been a while since we've done it live, but definitely excited to be on here tonight. We're going to have a special guest named Carrie. Shout out to Katrina, who continues to provide great stories and kick up your heels entertainment and everything in between. So I'm just waiting on her to join in. But if you haven't grabbed the magazine for the month, I see she's on. Definitely make sure to click our link in our bio. And you can always go back and find this replay as well. Take a peek and go back and look at this interview. So thank you for supporting us on tonight. Happy Monday again. And let's get her in this interview and go for it. And yeah, if you have any questions, definitely put them up as well. I do answer questions. Hey Carrie, I accepted your invite and I actually sent you one too. So let me know if that didn't come through. Because I see that you joined, but social media sometimes be going crazy. So let's see. Let me see what happened. And try it again. Give me a second. I did accept it. So if you're not seeing it on your side, just let me know. It's saying request sent. Yep. And I accepted it. It's crazy. I'm gonna send it back to you and let me know. Okay. And there's a thing that just came up and said that you weren't able to join for whatever reason. I don't think that. Okay, let me try it again. I'm gonna resend it. So thank you guys for your patience. Again, social media. Here we go. Finally.
I don't know what.
Social media it goes crazy. How are
I'm
you?
great. How are you? Thank you
Great.
for having me on.
Yes, no problem. Thank you for wanting to go live, and tell us more about, who you are, your brand. So I'm excited to have you on tonight. I know Mondays are pretty busy for us, so I'm not going to keep you on here long. However, for the ones that might not know who you are, could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give the short introduction, I guess, to start, and then you can expand on it if you want, or if you want me to.
Okay.
So, my name is Carrie. I am a human performance coach and a clinical counselor. I've been a clinical counselor for 25 years, and the past 15 years, I've moved into the space of mindset and lead human performance. So that is my passion, that is my drive, that's what I do. I do a lot of private coaching, but the real heartbeat of everything that I'm doing in this world right now is all underneath the Unstoppable Woman Project, which is something that I founded and created. And I've recently just kicked off my Dentity tour, which is a live tour that is traveling around, being able to offer women the opportunity to understand and to deep dive into their identity.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, because I was reading your bio and I was like, oh my gosh, she's done so many things. I think we could call you the Jill of all trades. I was like, I think we can call her the Jill of all trades because your bio is incredible.
Thank you. I like to keep myself busy. I'm a mom. I'm a dog mom. I'm a professional athlete. I'm a title holder with the WBFF. I like doing things. I like keeping myself busy. It's who I am.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. So I know that you mentioned, her identity. But before we go there, can you tell us like why you moved into coaching and then moved over into, becoming an athlete and, all the things in between? Like what made you keep changing paths?
Yeah, well, actually, I haven't really changed
Okay.
paths. So it might have been a way because the truth is that I'm an athlete at the same time as I'm a coach.
Okay.
So I am still an athlete. I'm taking the year off of competing, but I'm still an athlete. I just won my title last year. So it wasn't like things that I did sporadically. And I've been in the industry, the coaching and counseling industry for 25 years. So it's not so much that I've changed, it's that there's more that I've evolved. So,
Okay.
the cornerstone of me and everything that I do in this world is, I've just known since I was young. Like when I was like 5 years old, my grandpa asked me, he was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, Grandpa, I want to change the world. And so my drive has always been human beings, has always been people. When I graduated as a counselor, I went right into the industry, and I've done different things in the industry. So, I worked with children with special needs for a period of time. I worked with teens for a period of time. And so it's not so much that I'm like hopping around. It's more that I'm really getting a taste of different ways to help and to serve. But I would say in the last 15 years, I've just really narrowed it down to what I love doing. And I just really love the human mind and the human being, and understanding behavior and unpacking that, and helping people really understand how to live their best lives. And really, I know that that's a lot of rhetoric that we hear all over social media from everybody, because everybody's a coach now.
Right.
I could go on and on for that one forever. But, 15 years of practicing and understanding and, creating a foundational program, the Eliminate Your Limits mindset system, that's the foundation for everything I do. It's just, I really like to taste life. So, for me, coaching has always been what I do. And I mean, I've taken little mini hiatuses and added on a personal training degree. I went and worked in the fashion industry for 6 months, but I always come back to coaching because it's really my soul. It's really who I am. And the athlete is just something I do on the side.
Awesome. I feel like I hear people say all the time, like, oh, coaching is so oversaturated, or like you said, everybody's a coach. But I also love whenever you see passion in coaches, and that's something that I can see in you, because some people are just doing it just to say, I took a course and I'm a coach now, or I went through this experience and now I can coach you through it. Not,
Yeah.
so.
That I get on, like I always joke that I have my soapbox and I'll get on it and I'll talk to people about this. I think that especially when we're talking, I mean, really when we're talking about any kind of coaching, but we saw this in the personal training industry probably 15 years ago, where everybody became a personal trainer, right? And so everybody was a personal trainer, so on and so forth. But we've seen it probably I'm going to say the last 5 to 8 years, we've started to see this in the personal development industry as well, that anybody who's gone through something in their life is now a coach and is teaching people how to live their best life. Now, the problem for me with that is that if we really unpack that, I've been practicing for 25 years, right? Wow. There is a lot more to coaching than you had a really good year and now you want to teach other people that. There is such an intricacy between psychology, neuroscience, and spirituality that intermix in order to really be able to serve a human being. And for me, my problem with the oversaturation is two things. Number one, I don't think you become a coach to make money. I think you make being a coach. And I think what we're seeing right now is a lot of the industry is like, they just think it's a really quick hit way to get money, passive revenues online, which is a whole other thing, because passive revenues as a coach just doesn't make any sense, right? You're invested in the person's life. But then the other reason it's a problem for me besides that is that, we really have to recognize that when somebody comes to you for help, they're putting their lives in your hand.
Right.
And if you don't understand the nuances of psychology and the unconscious mind and neurology and all these things, you actually risk doing more harm than good. And it scares me in the industry that we're in right now. So that's kind of my, I admire anybody who wants to create change, but I think that people have to take a step back and ask themselves why they're doing it. Because like you said, just because you built a business doesn't mean you know how to teach people how to build a business. Right? And now everybody's a business coach.
Absolutely. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Somebody $10,000 and now they're going to teach people how to make $10,000. It's one of my favorite quotes from the musician Pitbull is, success is not about making it, it's about maintaining it.
Absolutely.
And, I think that's so important to understand. You got to be able to maintain it. 25 years in the industry, I'm at a place where I can say, you know what, I can maintain this. I know what I'm doing. I got to give a shout out, by the way, to Lisa Drapluck, Mama Draps. 15 years I've known this lovely woman who's tuning in live with you right there. Yeah.
Hey, Lisa. Yeah, it's dope because everybody, they're not a coach, and having that passion to actually be a coach because you want to change lives. is the thing. But again, we are in this type of society, and social media has it more like it's more about the coins than it is the impact.
100%.
Yeah, and even like as a business owner myself, of course, everybody wants to make money, right? We don't get in business to be broke. But I've always said, like, I had a coach before, and she was telling me her thing was impact, and I began to understand, being coached by her, how much of a difference it matters to have that and to make an impact on people. So when
Right.
I started hearing people say, well, thank you for allowing me to share my story, I was scared, I didn't know how to do it. I'm realizing that's an
Yeah.
impact, and it's not just about the money.
Yeah.
The money will come, but that impact, hearing how you've impacted people's life, means everything.
Yeah. And speaking of money, it's actually kind of funny because most people think I'm crazy right now. Today is Monday, and actually it's a little bit of a quieter day for me because I just hosted my 2-day event this weekend, a 2-day event that I was completely free. I didn't charge for it, and women think
Awesome.
like what? And the reason that is because women have a hard time investing in themselves. 70 women list themselves as their last priority, and then you're going to ask them to invest into a personal development experience, take time away from their family. And so I just looked at my CEO and I was like, you know what? I'm doing it for free. I'm going to invest in them so that they don't have to, so that all they need to do is show up. And I mean, I'm fortunate enough that I get the opportunity, and I've built a life that I can do that.
Right.
But it's impact over income every day for me, every single day.
Love it. Love it. So tell us, because I know you had your event over the weekend. Tell us more about her identity.
Yeah, so it's actually her
Her
identity.
identity. I'm sorry. I was pronouncing it wrong because I don't know why I seen the her dot
Don't worry,
identity there.
everybody does it. Everybody's doing it because it makes sense
Okay.
for identity, right?
Okay.
So I made up the word her
Her identity.
identity. So
Okay. Got you.
identity, because I really wanted it to be like, this is an experience, right? So you're coming to her identity this year at her identity. So I wanted to make it this whole living, breathing thing when I created it. So, I mean, the backstory on it's really easy. This year, with the Unstoppable Woman Project, I knew that I really wanted to expand and to reach more women and to grow. And, I'll say this here live on Instagram. I have every intention of becoming the female Tony Robbins. 5 years of practice in my back pocket. A lot of my clients,
You can do it.
yeah, a lot of clients tell me I'm better than Tony, and I'm like, don't say that, but I'll say it. Um, but I'm on this mission. I'm on this mission and my whole goal to be bigger than Tony Robbins is because it's not about the celebrity status. It's not about the accolades. I really don't care about that. For me, what it comes down to is the bigger the reach I have, the bigger I have and notoriety, the more lives I can change. So if I have Tony Robbins status, I'm a household name and I am touching lives around the world. So on this mission this year, in order to create this, what I decided to do is I wanted to take, this live event series on the road. And when I kicked it off, I wasn't really quite sure what the live event series was going to be. And it took a little bit of massaging. And then in April, I was at an event, or not an event, I was hosting a retreat. And the ladies at this retreat, I always kick off all my retreats by asking, what are your expectations? And there was this general theme where all the women were like, I don't know myself. I've lost myself. I look in the mirror and I don't know who I am anymore. And so I just changed the entire retreat from what it was supposed to be. We went deep diving on identity. I have something called the Dentity code, which is essentially a 4-step process. And that was when it clicked to me. I'm like, this is what I need to bring to women. This is the event. So her identity was born in that moment as a concept. And we just hosted our second one. So we only done 2 so far. We did Montreal up in April or in May, and we just did Phoenix. But it was mind blowing. It's 2 days of vulnerability and deep diving and unlayering and understanding, but then creating where we're going and what we can become. And it's so hard to put into words. I was just on a call with my marketing team earlier, and we were talking about it, and we were all talking about the safety in this room. Women never met each other, crying and sharing. And for me, that's where true release happens. Self-actualization happens through safety. And so that's what her identity is all about. It's about shifting from who you were to become who you need to be, releasing her, and then creating the new version of yourself.
I love it. It sounds like it's more of like deconstruction.
Yeah.
Then
Well,
you're upgrading to understanding, okay, this is who
it's
I am.
use that word because in my mindset system, the eliminate your limits system, I actually the way that I tag it all the time is we have to deconstruct to reconstruct. So day one construction and day two is reconstruction.
I love it.
So yeah, deconstruct. It's one of the things that people really. This is where I'm talking about when we're talking about knowing the intricacies of the human brain as a coach. You have to construct because as Dr. Carl Jung says, unless or until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will forever call it fate. We don't know what's going on down here. We got to bring it to the surface. We got to release it.
That's right.
Otherwise, we're building a life on quicksand.
That's right. Absolutely. So what though inspired you to create this, and like do you tell people your vulnerabilities with helping them? Because I feel like in order for me to learn from a lot of people or be impacted, it's just them being a mirror as well and saying, this is what I've been
Oh
through.
yeah.
This is who I am. I've dealt with the same type of struggles. Is that something that, your audience has connected with
Oh,
you on?
so, I mean, I think the greatest one of the anybody who knows me really well knows that my vulnerability is real. I believe I mean I teach through experience. I share my experiences, and as a matter of fact, on day one of her Dentity, I really try to disarm the women right away because I'm standing up on stage and I'm all looking cute in my little outfit, my hair's all, and so I always say, like, in Montreal, I was like, guys, I was like, look, I know that I'm standing up here and I look all pulled together, but I'm just a small town girl who grew up in the country, who used to stuff frogs in my pocket. My bodysuit is right up my butt. Like, oh, that like, this is, I love feeling and looking good. Like, that's just who I am. But it doesn't mean life's not happening to me at the same time. And so, that's one of the things that, my very first communications class in college, I remember my teacher said, you never ever share anything about yourself with your clients. And my brain went, yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
Really?
How? All my ladies are showing up here to watch with you. So, for me, the way that I look at it is if, like, I'm asking you to trust me, I got to get first.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think the reason that we have to have these guidelines protected, we can't talk, is because most coaches, and dare I say most therapists, they don't know the line, what they're crossing over to the danger zone, right? There's something called transference and countertransference in counseling. It's when you're transferring your life onto the client. You've got to be careful of not doing that, right? And so for me, I feel like we've put these safeguards that, like, therapists and coaches don't need to know themselves, so just don't talk about yourself. But no, my women inside of the Unstoppable Woman Project know more about my life than my family does, probably.
But that's good though, because relatability is everything. I'm not gonna trust you if I don't think that you've been through anything.
Exactly, 100%. And that's why also I think, I was saying this weekend on stage, I was like, I couldn't stand up here 5 years ago, or even 5 years ago, and claimed I want to be the female Tony Robbins. You have to gain expert status, you have to practice being an expert.
That's right.
And so, I would define myself in I've definitely, for the last 5 to 7 years, I would define myself as an expert in my industry, right? That doesn't mean that there's not growing to happen, but you don't become an expert in a year. You just don't. Expertise is in practice. And for me, my practice, there's a duality in my practice. It's in my coaching experience with other people, but the real expertise comes in my application to myself. Everything that I teach women, that I do with women, that I walk them through, I live it and I do it myself. And I think that's how I've really learned. And I mean every 24 hours, like, I'm in my journaling process, I'm doing this, I practice everything that I teach, because for me, it's the only way that I can really refine and become the greatest coach that I can possibly be as I move forward.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So who was that like for you? Like, who did you have a mentor? Did you have a therapist or a counselor that said, what is your identity?
Yeah, no, I didn't. It's
Mm,
self-taught. It is. So this is a weird, okay, I've had, it's a weird kind of conversation. So I, I don't know what I was blessed with when I was born. I'm going to be honest when I say that. And I'm not going to try and, get all woo-woo here.
right,
But
right.
there's a part of me that's always understood human behavior. I've
Mhm.
always been highly self-aware. And
Okay.
of had to practice. I'm not claiming that I've ever been perfect,
Right.
but so there are people I've worked with over the years that I've gone and sought out to help me find like pieces that I needed in the right moment.
Okay.
So for example, I did work with a hypnotherapist for like 6 months that helped me work through some stuff. I've never done any form of traditional coaching, counseling or
Mhm.
therapy just because it's really my jam. But I've worked with I've worked with a hypnotherapist. I've done a lot of spiritual work. I know when I'm stuck, and I go and find the source that I need to plug into what that is in the moment.
That's good.
It's a lot of introspection. Like I spend so much time working on myself. I tell people the greatest year of my life was the year that I journaled my 4-pillar system 365 days that year for an hour, 2 to 3 hours every day.
Wow.
Blockages I needed to move through. And so I took the system, I put it into practice, and I did it. And that's one of the things for me that is like, as a coach, I'm really big on practical application. I really don't love it. Like, that's one of the things about her Dentity. We have workbooks and we're doing the exercises and we're working through the things. Because one of the things for me is that I don't teach it unless I can show you how to make it happen.
That's
And if
good.
how to make it happen, it's not going to come out of my mouth because then it's just a concept.
Right. Absolutely. No, that's great. I think everybody needs a coach like that. Keep it real or leave me alone.
Right. Yeah.
keep Yeah, keep it real, leave it alone. I love that. I feel like, again, we all need somebody to hold us accountable. And I love that you mentioned that you made sure to seek out the help that you needed, the things that you needed, because sometimes we can have a lot more together than other people. And not saying that we're perfect, but whenever we see, okay, I'm slacking here, what's going on here, we know to go seek that out. But then you have other ladies, sometimes they're not um maybe as conscious about needing that help. So what would you say to those women that are really, they know that something's off and they're stuck, but they're maybe just not confident enough to get to that? What would you say to
That's
that woman that
a
needs to
really,
find her
yeah,
identity?
that's a really, really great question. I think there's a, it's a big question because it's like hard to like summarize that into like one answer.
Okay.
I think listen to yourself.
Mm,
Don't lie to yourself. If you know in your gut, in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, whatever, that there's something else, that there's something off, don't just brush it under the rug. So that's the first thing I would say. Listen to yourself. And then one of my favorite quotes, and it's my quote, but it's one of my favorite things to say, is when you conclude, you stop seeking. So keep seeking, keep looking, keep asking, keep talking to people, keep trying to find the solutions. Because one of the things that I know to be true is you can't fail if you just keep trying. So you
absolutely.
try a coach. I mean, because my easy answer could be, well, come into the Unstoppable Woman Project, right? But like that's not going to go for like every woman on the planet. So what I know to be true is that if you stop trying, you will fail and you'll stay stuck.
That's right.
Failure isn't the failures along the way at like different mile markers. Failure is giving up on yourself.
Absolutely.
But I totally define failure. So it's going to get hard. It's going to hurt. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be up and downs. It is a guarantee in this world that you're going to go through that. Every time you fall, get back up and
Absolutely.
talk to people. And I know that that's a very like, quotey quote, like that got me through so much,
Mm,
I fall, it doesn't matter how many times I'm down there, I'm going to get back up and I'm going to be tired and I'm going to be annoyed and I'm going to be frustrated. I think women, and I'm not trying to be polarizing towards women, obviously, but for the context of this conversation, I think women, we are just forces of nature.
Absolutely.
We have strength in us, the maternal strength. We're here to give birth, right? So there is a strength in us that we just need to learn how to tap into and just keep going.
That's right. That's right. That is so good because again, that woman that is not unsure about, what her identity looks like, it could be, I think it could be intimidating. So it could stop us from moving forward. It could stop us from admitting that I need the help.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. 100%. It's one of the reasons that, like, really and truly, I'm and it was interesting coming off of this weekend because all the ladies this week when we're making this comment as well, I'm a very nuanced coach. And what I mean by that is I have picked apart the process with such a fine tooth comb, even like what you just said, we have to appreciate the layers of growth.
That's right.
The birth
That's right.
and ice it first. The icing comes last. And what we're trying to do in this world is we're trying to put the icing on before we've actually baked the cake. And if the cake doesn't hold up. And so one of the things that I really encourage women to do is I really encourage them to practice giving themselves grace, to practice not beating themselves up, to recognize that this is a skill they've never learned. We do not learn self-awareness in school. We do not learn how to school. I always say we do not learn how to do human in school. We learn to accept how to function in this being that we are. So take it one step at a time. And if you don't know what the one step at a time is, find someone who can help you.
Absolutely. Great advice. Great advice. Again, because I stress the importance of finding that help. Once you find that help, we're going to always go through things, but once you find that help, life gets better. It gets easier. It's hard. We know that, but it gets easier to cope. It gets easier to navigate. It gets easier to say, I can do this. I can do this. This is a little hard, but I know I can do it. It's just like we said, deconstructing to reconstruct.
100%. Yeah, exactly. Yes, you nailed it.
I love it. I love it. So tell me, because I'm not laughing at what you said, but I'm like, bigger than Tony Robbins? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But I want to know what your goals are for the next 5 years because you're already a force by nature. What's your goals?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I'm going to answer this in a completely opposite way that most people would answer this question. Okay. So this is a little bit more insight into me. I do not really build goals out beyond 1 year. My life is directed by core values. Okay. And core values are my governing force. So my core values in life are happiness, impact, and mastery. My life has to be about pursuing the greatest level of happiness, the greatest impact, and the greatest level of mastery. And that's really what directs my ship and leads my ship. So when I look big, like longevity, like my goal when I die is to leave a legacy in my happiness, my impact, and my mastery. Like I want to just die the most enlightened. There's a word there I won't say live. Like I have a swear that I'm not going to say, but like mofo, like that's my goal when I die. That's what I'm achieving, right? So if I bring it back, I can kind of hit over under the next 5 years because I do work with 1 year plans. But in the next 5 years, as an athlete, my goal in the next 5 years is to become a world's champion. So I currently hold the title of Miss Fitness USA 35 plus, but as an athlete, my goal is to become a world's champion. And I would say in the next 5 years, with regards to the reach with my women's project and what I'm doing, like I want to have a stadium of like 10 to 15,000 women, want them there. And, I try not to put metrics on things. For me, it's not even my goals are so micro. They're not macro, right? So my goals are super micro, which is why I can't really answer that because my life is governed by feeling. My feeling is governed by my core values. And if my core values are in check, I know where I'm going. So, the goals that I had for this year in business with what I'm doing with Unstoppable have completely transformed, inside of 3 weeks because I brought on a new marketing team 2 weeks ago, and everything now like is just we're like just going big and better, and like by the end of this year, I quite honestly have no idea where we're going to be because what I'm pursuing is a bigger thing than just a goal. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. And no, that's a good thing because I've been hearing like people need to stop doing the 5 year goal because anything can happen. So I love that you're like, I just plan it by a year, or I set them to a limit of a year only, not five, because life can change so much in a day or, whatever. But I feel like a year is a great starting point.
And I think that there's a thing like, I don't often talk about this live because people get their panties in a bunch when I talk about this because we live in a world that's very goal oriented, right?
Yes. Yes.
But the matter is like, I don't love, I don't love setting goals without the bigger vision because what I know to be true about people's minds is when they're not hitting those goals, especially if they're metric based, that's when they start to self-sabotage. You want to lose 10 pounds, but you don't hit the 10 pounds. And then we're identifying that expectation and we're not hitting it. We're actually defeating ourselves. So the only way that I use goals with my clients is if we've set a bigger vision first. And then the goals become the road marks along the way to get there. We need goals. We need to have metrics and tangibles. Like we absolutely need that. Otherwise, we're kind of wayward in our direction. But you said it, like life is so dynamic. So the number of women I know who will like set a goal to lose 15 pounds in 6 months, but they spend this first 2 months, they end up getting sick. And now they're defining themselves as a failure. And then that's becoming an internal narrative that's not serving them. And so we have more deconstruction to do. So I tend to try to stay away from that language. I would always go like, what's my vision story? Oh, I'll tell you that. I could tell you I'm going to be standing backstage with my two ladies, Alexandria and Kim, at our first huge event. We're going to have an auditorium full. I've got to have my mic in my ear, and we're going to be reflecting back on the day it all began.
Wow.
And the Feel This Moment's going to be playing by Pitbull, and I'm going to walk out on stage, and I can feel that, right? Wow. So the thing, I teach vision stories because that's what's going to get me out of bed in the morning. That is going to get in the morning when I don't want to. That's how I do it.
I love it. No, I love that. I teach vision stories because people they don't even think like that. I know I haven't been thinking like that, so I'm gonna take that for myself. Like when I wake up in the morning, what is my vision story?
Yeah.
I love it.
Goals. We're taught to set our goals, right?
Absolutely.
What are your goals? Very metric. It's very cold. It's very static. As a fitness competitor, when I'm in a prep season, I'm at the gym 3 times a day. I'm waking up and doing fasted cardio 7 mornings a week. Wow. Nobody's excited to get up and do fasted cardio. But the feeling of having that crown placed on my head, that's what I was playing for. And then I use imagination to harness that.
Love it. I love it. Like I said, I'm going to take that for myself. But thank you for that great answer. Again, we have to be realistic about our, what we're setting as well. So I think that's just starting there with that mindset, just changing that mindset, to not be so metric based when it comes to life for us is beautiful because again, this society is everything is metrics.
Totally.
If you're not reaching this amount of people, if you're not doing this, if if your views don't look like this, then you're failing.
Well, interesting story behind that. When I kicked off this year with the live tour, prior to like kicking it off and going with it, when I was looking at it as like, how many women am I going to sell into this event? I was going nowhere fast. And that was, obviously business conversation. The second I made it free and I found why I was doing it again, it like flew up. It like went crazy, right? So it matters. It matters a lot.
It does. It does. So I want to ask you, how can we follow you, support you? Because you're an author and all these other things in between. Yeah. But how can the audience reach out to you or contact you, follow you, support you?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, places here on Instagram. So Carrie_Campbell_UWP. That's my Instagram. So you can go there. We actually really exciting. We just today released, when I say we, me and the team, I have been working on it. Well, I've been wanting to release this for years, But just today we released, or this weekend we released my mindset toolbox, and it's officially available. It's 7 of my most profound tools for integration, and you can practice and you can get it if you're interested in taking a peek at it. My book, everything, it's in the link in my bio at my stand store, so you can go check it out. We're actually keeping the mindset toolbox is $17. It's our Dentity prices for the week. Then it'll go up to $27. It's so funny because, you know, when I started sitting down, we were going to kind of do a one pager of all these like tools, and it ended up becoming 35 pages of information. And takeaways and stuff like that for women. So hit me up on Instagram. I'm here. I'm on Facebook under the same name. I respond personally to all my own messages. You know, so my Instagram following took a hit 3 years ago or 2 years ago because I got canceled. I don't know
Oh
why
no.
I got canceled across the board and I had to rebuild. That said, though, I do respond to everything myself and would be more than happy to engage, answer questions, whatever the case may be.
Got you. Thank you so much for this time. It's been enjoyable. I've loved it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your
You're
time.
welcome. You guys make sure that you follow and support, reach out, go get your coach, get healed, get her identity. Make sure I said it correctly that time. Her identity. So go get it. And thank you again. Kick up your heels for the opportunity to have this great interview. And you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Bye bye.